Welcome, guys. Happy Labor Day. It feels like the weekend went by here way too fast. So, back at it. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and I thought for tonight's topic, this is kind of just a spread across the board, I think helpful information on just a lot of things that are all revolved around our bodies and getting you to know a little bit more. I think it's scientifically understanding more what our bodies do and digging into this a little deeper. I hope you guys find it's helpful. Hopefully it's not too overwhelming, but then tying in, which a lot of you guys are very familiar with a lot of the Shaklee products, but looking at this from a specific nutrient balance, how we are going to pick the nutrients that we want to be using for these certain types of areas for health. So that's going to be our topic here tonight, guys. So I will make sure we stick to our 20 minutes. And as always, guys, you have comments, questions, this is for you guys. So if you think of some things as we're going, you want to add something, or you think of a question, don't hesitate to unmute yourself and, speak up and definitely let us know if there's something you want to add in here. So all right, guys, the first area I'm going to start with here is actually talking about free radicals and antioxidants. And I think a lot of us know, okay, antioxidants are the things that are in oranges and things that are in fruits and maybe things that are protective. But when you actually understand what free radical damage does and how that breaks down our body, it's very interesting of how free radicals can actually damage our DNA. And free radicals, the more that we look at how free radicals are basically things that are found in how we live our lifestyle. So these are going to be things that are found in our diet, definitely sugar, your white flour, heavy oils, pop, nicotine, caffeine, nitrates, synthetic vitamins, actually, hormones. All of these things are continuously being put into our body. Even laundry products, plastics, medications, all of those contribute to what we see for free radical damage. So we have to figure out ways that we can basically protect our bodies, and that's what the free radicals do not like antioxidants. And this is why you hear a lot of people talk about the importance of free radicals and building them up through our diets, because basically the antioxidants disarm free radicals and what they do to our health, and it slows down the damaging effects. So if we can look at ways to boost them, if you want to know what your key antioxidants are, this is where I said we're going to tie in just learning a little bit about specific Shaklee products. Vitamin C, vitamin A, and vitamin E are actually your highest antioxidants, which that ties in with our flavonoids. Those are found like in the skins of your vegetables primarily. Zinc, magnesium. There's also some in green tea, resveratrol. Those are also have very strong protective properties. So we really want to look at making choices that are trying to basically combat what we are battling from the outside. Okay, so if we look at those main things from a Shaklee product standpoint, we definitely want to look at, things like our, vitamin C products, any of the vitamin C options, because those have a high antioxidant quality to them. But also, if you've ever heard of a product called Coradomax, and this is kind of an interesting one, the Coradomax has your main vitamins and nutrients that are key to eye health. And people don't often realize that those key nutrients, not only are they just good for your eyes, but they also combat the free radicals around us. So there's going to be something you guys are going to learn about here in a few weeks, which Shaklee is going to be releasing this new health assessment that is way beyond anything we've ever seen before. But I thought this was interesting, that I've seen several people talking about how one of the questions on there is in regards to if you spend so many hours a day on a computer and how that actually deteriorates your eyesight over time, and we need to be using certain vitamins to help protect our eyes. So Coradomax is one of the Shaklee products that has a lot of antioxidants in it. It's great for people that do maybe struggle, even if you have a history or a family trait of glaucoma and things that you're trying to watch, macular degeneration, all of those types of things for your eyes. That's a great thing to know about. So, all right, guys, let's get into next here talking about blood sugar. Basically, when we eat a meal, that's sugar, right? Anytime you have a meal with glucose in it, that's sugar, that enters your bloodstream, that's transported to our cells, and basically that gets distributed throughout our body. So when you eat glucose, what it does is it signals your pancreas to release insulin. And as that insulin opens the doors, the glucose enters the cells. So what we find happens is if the receptors are damaged, okay, those cells become damaged, or there's not enough insulin, the blood sugar continues to stay in our body at a high rate, and basically our pancreas becomes overworked. That is why people start to develop things like high blood sugar, diabetes, pre-diabetes, hypoglycemia can also be tied into this. So we have to kind of understand what also ties in with that as people start to gain weight. The simple carbohydrates become a main staple in a lot of these types of diets because we start to crave them. So if we can start to watch our sugar intake, okay, that's not anything new for most of us, but we have to learn that it is in everything. So when we talk about reading labels, sugar, guys, I'm not kidding you. You will just be amazed. Everything you look at, it is in a different form. It's hard to identify, but we have to learn how to best determine that, sugar is toxic to our body, okay, except fruit, really. We do not need sugar. It is an added, it's not even considered, to me, it's an added chemical that we are putting into our bodies that, it's almost impossible to avoid. But what we can do to help offset some of that with blood sugar levels is, one, try to eat a quality protein at each meal. So like I talked about, when the glucose enters your bloodstream, it's transported to your cells. If you can combat that having protein with it, it will slow down the absorption of the glucose into your cells. So have a quality protein with each meal. Also look at your B vitamins. B vitamins are a big one. When you have a high processed food diet, the extra B vitamins will combat some of the effects that the sugar is having in your bloodstream. There's also, the idea of trying to really make sure you do look at more of a simple carbohydrate diet. So figure out what carbs are more slow releasing. You hear the whole grain, right? That means that it has the entire grain. It's going to be slower released than eating a white processed carb. Okay, so when we look at blood sugar, all good things to know. There is also a product, if somebody is really struggling with blood sugar levels or you develop this over time, called glucose regulation complex. And it really is a great idea for someone that is starting to notice higher insulin levels. And it is also kind of crazy because we talk about how our bodies start to develop symptoms. A simple symptom such as neuropathy can be the first sign of diabetes in someone. So if we can start to learn not to ignore the symptoms, we can oftentimes combat it by finding the right nutrients. Glucose regulation is an amazing product for anyone that's starting to notice their body is maybe not able to break down the sugars. We're noticing the shakiness from not eating. You are maybe feeling more tired. That can be related to not being able to break down sugar. There's a lot of signals, so pay attention to your body. All right, the next area we're going to get into here is our microbiome. And I know each of these topics, guys, we could actually spend all night. So I just picked a few of them that I thought were really key right now. There's a lot of things we can do to better balance our body and to better support it. And this is where understanding your microflora balance is a big part of this. We want to continue to increase our good bacteria and decrease our bad bacteria. So basically your microflora are the microorganisms that are the biggest part of your lower gut. Okay, so it's the lower part of your intestinal tract. That's where we have to focus on building the good. And it's actually crucial that you get that good bacteria, because if you don't and the bad takes over, you notice symptoms that basically are, brain fog, candida. They can be cravings. You develop allergies, irritable bowel syndrome. Anytime you hear any of the itises, athlete's foot, all of these things you would never think could be stemming from your gut. Okay, but 100% it can be. So we need to really, and this is interesting too, guys, they even find babies can have candida, which is high yeast, which is not enough good bacteria. So at a very young age, this is already something to be thinking about, from babies to elderly, on building up that good bacteria and trying to make sure that we really try. That's why they really, talk about breastfeeding to help build up that good bacteria, but there's so many things we can do throughout our life to help make sure that we are really trying to make sure that we are keeping the bad down and the good up. And this is where also you're going to see a pattern: low sugar, okay, simple carb diet. That's ideally more whole foods. That's going to help big time. Our B complex comes into play with this again with microflora, believe it or not. We always think just probiotics, but B complex also has a place in this because stress is a big killer of your microflora. Okay, stress really depletes your body quickly, and B complex actually helps to combat some of what stress does to your body. So we use B complex quite a bit, and it is water soluble. So sometimes people have to take more than what's in, for example, your Vital E or your Vitalizer. So if you are one that notices, maybe like middle of the day, you're starting to crash, maybe you notice, which this is a good sign, is if your urine is actually yellow, it means you're getting enough B vitamins. If it's clear, you're probably not. It means you're becoming deficient. So oftentimes you notice when you take your multi, at least a Shaklee multi, because we know there's the good quality B vitamins in there, that your urine is yellow for quite a while. That's good because you're excreting the B vitamins you don't need anymore. But as you notice it becoming clear again, that's a sign. Stress, maybe some, a bunch of sugar you ate depleted those Bs, so you need to replace them again. So obviously we know probiotics. That is a huge one. There's several options for probiotics, and I do think right now, as we are getting into flu season and COVID is not going anywhere, we need to do whatever we can to keep looking at that ratio of the good to bad bacteria, and ideally, from what we're trying to put in there, our immune system, a probiotic is going to be one of the best sources of helping to build that up. So getting a good probiotic, and also if you have a lot of yeast, so we talked about the things, the athlete's foot, the thrush is another symptom, hypoglycemia can even tie into that too. Garlic is a big one. So the garlic complex, that actually kills yeast. So garlic is known as nature's natural penicillin. So it's a good thing for helping also if you're noticing you're fighting infections a lot, you can't get rid of things. Eating garlic can be very difficult. So having a supplement form, a great thing to have in your cabinet for as another option as a backup. So all right, so let's get into here, guys, a little bit more, just kind of thinking about, our food choices here. So I know that we've all heard you are what you eat, and there is some truth to that, which it feels like lately, I know for us, again, when stress levels are higher, you don't always make the best choices. You maybe eat things that are much more convenient. But we really have to keep thinking about, guys, watching how our digestive system is being affected. Okay, and what do we mean by just digestion? We don't just mean, is your food breaking down? This ties into also absorption, assimilation, and elimination. Okay, when you're eating foods, is it properly breaking down? Are you eliminating what you're supposed to? So if you're noticing you're getting more constipated, that is a huge sign that something is not working right, and you've got to get rid of those toxins. So identifying each phase of what should happen for digestion can really be a key factor in helping us to realize what our body is supposed to be doing happening. So look at each phase and determine, is there something we need to do to help increase some of those body functions? And that might be, again, basically our filtration systems work hard to keep us clean. And this is why we talk about doing a cleanse every, couple times a year, which, by the way, we're planning to do another group cleanse here at the beginning of August, if anybody wants to join us. But we have to look at trying to find ways to keep getting out the bad. And that is where, again, we talk about the right vitamins and supplements, but if you're noticing you're getting sluggish, you notice you're, not having, you're getting stomach aches, you're more bloated, you're not, regularly, having bowel movements, know some good product options. Herblax would be one to mention that we use a lot of for supporting your bowels. So that is a great one if you notice you're not quite staying regular enough. Another key component of staying regular also, guys, is fiber. And that sounds really simple and basic, but it is still said today. I know last year they were saying the average American consumed about 6 grams of fiber today. And I just heard the other day on a podcast that they said it can be anywhere from 4 to 7 grams a day that the average American is getting now. And we should be having, they're actually saying now, 25 to 30 grams a day. Think about that deficiency there, guys. You're going from 7 to 30. I mean, if you're not getting enough fiber, what are you putting in that's helping to get things going again? So this is where, again, we talk about a clean diet, trying to incorporate more of the right foods. Maybe your liver, you notice, is slowing down. That's a great idea for knowing what a liver DTX is, basically a product to help detox your liver. We also talk about, of course, digestive enzymes. So I want to highlight this one here really fast because I do think that people struggle with knowing what to use when you're kind of feeling like your body is maybe not liking certain food choices. For example, broccoli. very cruciferous vegetable, right? And it can cause a lot of gas in people. And you know what? That could be a sign that your digestive system is not working properly. So there are things actually called digestive enzymes. It's called EasyGest, is our Shaklee product of this. But those can really be a great product for helping you to get through some times where maybe your body is just not liking certain things. Dairy is another big trigger, right? But if you look at, and gluten, most people, they're not truly allergic to foods. They just have a sensitivity. So if we can find the right things to help them get through that sensitivity, a lot of times we start feeding it the right things and some of those things go away. So very good thing to note is something called EasyGest. So all right, the last area I'm going to talk about here really quickly is understanding a little bit about your lymphatic system. This is kind of an interesting topic that, you know, basically it's what your body knows what to do when you get injured or there's an invasion coming into your body, like a virus, bacteria, etc. And generally our bodies can repair themselves, right? They can heal, they know what to do. But over time, things like repeated uses of antibiotics, the body starts to become adapted to certain things and it doesn't heal as well. And this is where this big part of understanding what we need to do to have basically our bodies ready for when there's trauma coming is really trying to clean up and get your defense ready. Okay, that is what your lymphatic does system along with antibodies. And again, there's so many systems in our body, it's complex, but I think it's very interesting to know that those things are traveling through our body in the lymphatic fluid. So it's always going through our body. But again, when we keep pushing in toxins and we're not releasing what we're supposed to, it builds up over time. And basically, your system has to pump that out. So if it doesn't, you're going to start to notice things that are basically holding things up. We're not incorporating our circulation, which lymphatic system, guys, you have got to exercise, okay? That is pretty much the best thing you can do to help keep circulation going and your lymphatic system healthy is to exercise. I also think it's just important to, you know, highlight, guys, it doesn't have to be an hour of exercise a day. We're talking about, there's research that shows if you are active and you even get bouts of 5 minutes at a time, that's still going to have benefits too. What you need to be working on for your body. So no even short amounts are great, okay? So I even tell people simple things. If you're just starting out and you're someone that likes to watch TV, then you know what? Every commercial break you have to get up and exercise. Okay, that's if your choice is you want to sit and watch TV, then every time a commercial comes on, you get up and exercise. So you can find ways to sneak it in, but you've got to keep moving. We also want to mention here, guys, talking about, you know, specific nutrients with this. We have a repeated use of that vitamin C again. Okay, the high antioxidants. We talked about the protection earlier for a lymphatic system. Vitamin C, vitamin D, and also zinc is another really popular one. And zinc has a lot of supportive properties for our immune system, so not a bad thing to look at, very inexpensive to get on, and zinc complex actually is a very great thing for our nerves. It can also help with, you know, like I said, combating certain people that have immune type issues. Zinc is used oftentimes, and again, it's not going to be something you have to worry about taking too much of. So, all right, guys, well, we are at our 20-minute mark here, so let me ask you guys really quickly, does anybody have anything they want to add, or maybe any questions or something you want to comment on here a minute? Feel free to unmute yourselves.
Amanda, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Like you talked about the EasyGest and the fiber, is that something you would use on a regular basis or just only when needed?
It definitely is individual, Carla. I would say that a lot of times people, especially as they age, they notice their digestion is slowing down. So I think a lot of that has to go into play with your diet. So if your diet is great, then oftentimes you won't need the EasyGest. But I think because of the society we live in, that our diet is not perfect every single day, so it almost becomes a staple that you have to use something to help break down maybe what your body can't do on its own anymore, if that makes sense. And it's the same with fiber, Carla. If you're not getting a lot of fiber in on a daily basis, that's why you'd want to supplement. But oftentimes, people that have digestive troubles, that maybe they've had surgery in the past or some trauma to their digestive system, that fiber oftentimes coming from, for example, fruits, is very hard on their body. So that's also reason to supplement. But you know what? A lot of us can get it. You know, looking at whole grains, you know, looking at some of your bar options. I have the, you know, the Life Shakes right here. I mean, these have 6 grams in there. So even if you're doing a couple shakes a day, I mean, that's 12 grams just drinking these, not adding if you're eating any other fruits or vegetables or whole grains. So it's really not difficult to do. It's just learning to realize the amount of fiber that's in foods, if that helps. So sorry, Carl, I muted you. I could hear background noise, but feel free to unmute if that doesn't make sense. All right, good, guys. Anybody else?